All right, 12.3, our last section here. So it talks about managing our resources. So we kind of looked at the facts and talked about some issues this week and last week. And now we're going to talk about how we can do our part, basically, in making sure that we take care of the environment in a responsible way and that we do what we should. And of course, being a conservationist and conserving our resources and using them for our benefit, that's important. So there's two types of resources. There's non-renewable resources and renewable resources. So non-renewable resources basically means it doesn't come back. All right. So, or it comes back like super, super slowly. Coal, oil, minerals, those are all non-renewable resources. Then you have renewable resources like soil, water, wood, bamboo. Those all regenerate very quickly. So the idea is there is to use more renewable resources, not as many non-renewable resources. And so obviously we would, if you think about wood and bamboo, if you were to put an entire house full of wood flooring or an entire house full of bamboo flooring, you know that the bamboo flooring is much more renewable. Even though they're both considered renewable resources, it may take a tree 20, 30, 40 years to grow back to where we could get enough wood out of it to do a room. But bamboo, we can it can just keeps on growing and growing and growing and takes over the place. So you just chop it and it's the grass. So it just keeps on going. And it has a lot of benefits that wood has as well. So they're making a lot out of bamboo nowadays to where we can have some more renewable resources there. Then you have some different types of things that have helped out. Sustainable development. This seeks to maintain our current lifestyle, but it preserves the sources for future generations, and that's basically what we're talking about with that and practicing. Then you have environmental technology. This is where they use technology to take the place of some of that. Some of you all have seen that, like if you've been to Disney World and you've been to the hydroponic plant there and seen how they do some of that with growing plants with technology, and it's pretty amazing how they do that. You could even look that up on one of those videos, hydroponic plants, and it's kind of neat to see. Then they have water reclamation. Of course, water is renewable, but we need to be able to clean it and return it to the environment properly. And so they reclaim wastewater in the environment. This is going to be an interesting read for you because sometimes people don't realize where your water that you're drinking has been. And so read that little section, you'll see. You may not ever drink water. No, I'm just picking. You have to drink water. It's clean now. So anyway, you can read about that a little bit. And of course, you have recycling programs. You've heard reduce, reuse, recycle. That would go towards our solid pollution, the trash and the garbage. And if you can reuse it, reuse it. If you can reduce the amount of trash that goes in, back in the days before we realized a lot of this, they were using these really big, thick, heavy plastic bottles. And now they use the thinner plastic and they can just write it down. And that reduces as well. But of course, you would reduce it a whole lot more if you just drank out of your own reusable water bottles. So that would be helpful. So reduce, reuse, recycle when you can. And we recycle at our house, and it's really not hard. We just have one trash can for regular. We have one trash can for recyclables, and you might have to rinse out a milk container and then stick it in the recycling, and it's really not difficult. We can go take it to one of the recycling places. We kind of store it in an area in our garage, and when we just go take it all at one time. Now, some places you live in the cities and stuff, and that helps because they just have like a recycling pickup every week, just like you have trash pickup, and that's nice. We don't have that around here yet. All right, so of course the best approach to recycling is just to live so that you don't produce items that need to be recycling. So limit the amount of waste products that you have to throw away and that kind of thing. Then you, of course, our modern technological world requires a large amount of energy. Electricity, basically, is what we're talking about here. Factories, vehicles, heating and air conditioning, all of that kind of stuff. So fossil fuels were, of course, they've been used since the time of Noah, before then. And you can see how they're made, how they can take petroleum and turn it into many, many things through this fractional distillation on page 386. Look at that and see how many uses they can get out of something like petroleum. And that's pretty cool to be able to see how that does. And then you have renewable energy. We talked about renewable resources, renewable sources like wood, bamboo, water, that kind of thing, that we can reuse it again. Now we have renewable energy. All right, so fossil fuels for a long time, wood, coal, that kind of thing. Coal would be our fossil fuel, and that's what we've used for so long. But there are, of course, drawbacks to that, and so, of course, they've made numerous advances in making sure that it's clean coal, and we can use that as much as we possibly can. But renewable energy is something that they're looking at all the time, and making it a little bit more usable, attainable, all of that. So probably the oldest form of renewable energy is called biomass, and biomass is where they obtain it from plant and animal matter. And basically the biomass is in the form of wood that's been used for millennium, and as a source of heat and light. And of course, a lot of us use that in our homes, and we use it to heat our homes, or of course they use it to make electricity at times. And so it's minimal pollution, but it does have some smoke going into the atmosphere, and of course that would create some atmospheric pollution there. And then pollution from wood for power can also almost be eliminated if they use wood gas, is what this is called. And it's a biofuel that basically it's burning wood in a low oxygen environment, and that basically reduces that smoke completely to where you don't have that. But making wood gas requires a large wood gas generator and a supply of bulky wood pieces and that kind of thing, so that can be a problem for a lot of people. One of the best known is biofuels. Remember, bio meaning life, so it's from something that was once living. And it's an alcohol derivative of corn grains and agricultural wastes. And that's been you can use that like in ordinary gasoline engines. And so the main change there is you just have to replace the materials that are suitable for gasoline. And so anyway, that's ethanol. Biogas is a biofuel that's made primarily with methane. Methane there. We talked about that. I'll let you read about that before. And you have solar energy, energy from the sun. And of course, the sun we can harness that energy to generate non-polluting heat, non-polluting electricity. One of the drawbacks from solar energy is it's not constant. We don't always have the sun. It might be an overcast day. I mean, we do have the sun, but we don't have that direct sunlight always. You have passive and active solar energy. Passive solar energy is where basically the sun just kind of falls on a building. They've made the building a lot of glass, and so then that glass just kind of traps the heat inside, and they use it that way. So that's passive solar energy. Active solar energy is using actually like photovoltaic cells, concentrating solar energy in that way. And so they're made from photovoltaic cells are made from semiconducting materials, and it allows that sunlight to hit that cell, and it converts it into energy that we can use to heat our homes, to run our homes, to whatever. And you can see at the bottom of page 389 an actual one photovoltaic cell. A solar panel, which is what we normally see, there's lots of those in that solar panel there. And then they have concentrating solar energy, where basically the mirrors and the solar panels bend and flex continually, and they follow the sun. So let's say the sun rises here and goes over there. That's what that solar panel is going to do, and it's going to bend and flex to get the maximum amount of solar energy it can, and then it sends it heats water and then causes the water to boil, and the boiling water will cause the generators to generate electricity in that way. So that's concentrating solar energy. One of the other things that they're really talking about is that it uses more energy to destroy a solar panel once it's done than it does that it's ever produced. I'm not really very up on all that, but I've heard about that. So that's something that scientists, of course, are looking into as well. And then you have wind power. Wind power would be from a wind turbine or an aerogenerator, and you obviously see that that's great, but we don't have a constant source of wind. And so those are not always the most common sense. They're really expensive to build. But if you have wind turbines and solar panels, that, would help there. And then, of course, you have the most widely used form of renewable energy, and that would be hydroelectric power. Hydroelectric power plants, they have several benefits. Obviously, they have no pollution there with that. And they're more predictable. We mostly have water, but of course, disadvantages you do during times of, don't mind them, during times of drought or something along those lines. That would be a big problem there. And then, last but not least, nuclear power. All right, and that's something that scares people, but I think it's probably the wave of the future, and that is where they take a radioactive a large nucleus, and they divide it. It's called nuclear fission, and it'll cause a chain reaction. They can also use fusion, which means they put and make it a larger nucleus, and when they do that, it releases a tremendous amount of energy. And whenever it releases that energy, they take that and they try to harness it and use it to be able to power our homes and our everything we need power for. However, of course, whenever you use the word nuclear, people kind of freak out. And so they think of nuclear bombs, they think of those types of things. And there have been some accidents with some of these early on. And so you can read about Chernobyl and what the problems there were, and why that could really easily be avoided. And so sometimes people just misunderstand nuclear power and they worry about it. There's a nuclear power plant over where my nephew lived, actually in Virginia, and they use a man-made lake to continually keep everything cooled off because, of course, the tremendous amounts of energy could cause tremendous amounts of heat and, all that. So anyways, they use the water from the lake to keep it cooled off. And so one side of the lake is always warm because it's like coming out and it doesn't have any radiation or anything like that in it. So that's kind of neat to be able to see. So, of course, only God knows about our future, and so a lot of times people panic and have hysteria over all of this. But really, we just have to trust the Lord in the long haul and do what He wants us to do. We need to be responsible. We need to take care of what we can do and do the best that we can possibly do when it comes to all these environmental things, and stay up to date on the latest information on it. But make sure that you realize that it is our responsibility, but it is also, we can trust the Lord for whatever our future is as well. All right. Make sure that you do. If I gave you an activity page 12, I think that there might be an activity page coming up, and I may not have put it on there, but it may be the week after if we don't come back on the 20th. I'll see. I'll double check all that. But make sure you do your quizzes, send me the pictures, and your section reviews here. Those are really important to make sure you're getting the right answers. I'm going to leave you the answers on a video for the previous ones, and then once you guys have all sent these to me and turn those in, send me pictures of 12.1, 12.2, 12.3. That would be like at the end of each week, whenever those are due. Send me pictures of those. I will double check to make sure you're doing them right. I mean, not double check every answer, but I will check to see if you're just being lazy. I know you would never do such a thing. And so make sure that you're getting these accomplished and doing them well. That's probably the best way that you will be able to study, is by making sure you're doing those section reviews and read all of what you're supposed to read. Read, watch video, do the questions. You'll be good to go. Won't even take 20 minutes or maybe 30. Have a good weekend.